Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on What Now. A few compliments of the seasons to you. At just a moment, we will be celebrating the new year. I am Precious Amayu. Now, let's begin here in Africa, where the leader of the Guinean military junta, General Mamadi Doumbouya, has been declared winner of the country's presidential election. The election is the first since the coup that ousted President Alpha Condé in 2021. And is widely seen as a means of legitimizing Mamadi Doumbouya's stay in power. Incomplete results announced yesterday gave General Doumbouya 86.7% of votes counted. He contested with 8 other candidates in the election, in which major opposition candidates were reportedly barred, with some in exile. A former education minister during Alpha Condé's government, Yero Balde, came a distant second with 6.5% of the votes. The directorate says that 80.9% of the 6.7 million registered voters had cast their ballots. The election was held under a new constitution approved in a referendum in September. It revokes a ban on military leaders running for office and extends the presidential term from 5 years to 7. Now, to discuss this election with me, the senior special advisor to Nigeria's president on foreign affairs and protocol, Dr. Ademola Oshodi, joins me from Abuja. Good to have you join us, Dr. Oshodi.
Good afternoon.
So let's just get to your assessment of what has been playing out in Guinea from just the coup in 2021 and now to an election being held. And the winner is the person who was the head of that coup plotting team, if I may call it. I mean, what's your assessment of that situation in Guinea?
Well, the Guinean election has come and gone, but the most important thing we should focus on, I believe, is its return to the country's return to democracy, democratic rule, having civilians, so to speak, rule the country rather than the military, having people choose their leaders. So that's a progress. That's better than having a gun-toting soldier taking up arms and removing an elected leader or president, in this case, Alpha Condé. Now, General Doumbouya is now elected civilian president. And we, in some ways, in West Africa, we should celebrate the fact that democracy has returned, albeit with a lot of caveat. He took over as a military ruler, deposing elected leader, though that previous elected leader had his own questionable governance issue, trying to extend himself in power and curbing, opposition movement in the country. So, but we have a civilian government now, at least with the outcome of the election, we voted in as a civilian government in Guinea. ECOWAS, in many ways, have had another country return back to its fold as an elected leader.
And Dr. Oshodi, if I may quickly just come in, because you're highlighting a very important point, and that's the concern for a lot of people. It's how how upbeat ECOWAS is about this election. It will seem, because I know that it sent an observer mission rather. It would seem that ECOWAS is just wants to have civilian rule for the sake of civilian rule and not necessarily democratic rule, as you've called it. When you look at the conditions surrounding this particular election, almost anyone who was an opposition or a credible opposition are on exile. How is this even democratic rule? And is this something that ECOWAS should be celebrating?
Actually, ECOWAS wants progress towards democratic rule in Africa, even countries that are not even, I would say, adequately democratic, with opposition stifled and leaders extending their stay. ECOWAS just wants a progress and a social cohesion that will bring stability and progress. The most important thing, Precious, I believe, in any democracy is a step forward. Each election cycle, each democracy improving as each year, each election cycle comes up. Now, of course, issues in Guinea are not I would say, the best conditions, but it's definitely better than having a military ruler. This should not, I hope, encourage all the military people to take up arms and then take off their uniform and now become a democratic elected leader. But we have to manage what we get. And Guinea has given us a situation whereby civilians, including their senators, their House of Rep members, even governors of Guinea in their protectorate are now run by civilians. It is not the best conditions. Opposition leaders were either sent to exile or imprisoned or banned from contesting election in that Guinean election we're just talking about. But it's important that we have progress in West Africa, as minimum as it may be, to ensure that people are represented and there's progress and cohesion. West Africa is dealing with a lot of issues of instability with the militancies and, of course, military incursion in many of the French African countries. So this is the first French African, West African country that has actually had the opportunity to go back to trace its steps, albeit questionable steps, I should say.
And I know you did mention this earlier, but this seems like a dangerous precedent, doesn't it? Because it looks like some form of validation and legitimacy has been given to coup plotters on the continent. And like you said, wear the uniform, carry out a coup, and then take it off and become a civilian president. I mean, it just looks like now that's the precedent or precedents that is being set here.
It is rather unfortunate, but that is the situation that we have been left with in Guinea and in many parts of Africa, even in Gabon. The military ruler became a civilian head of state elected. So it's what we're given in Africa. It's rather unfortunate. We hope that people and this new elected leaders see the opportunity that the country, the electorate that's given it, and solidify institutions, avoiding the same mistake he's made in disrupting the democratic development of the country. It's not a perfect condition, but it's the best condition we can have right now. And it's important we have as much stability as possible, ensure that the West African sub-region has its cohesion, has stability, and in many ways build those crucial, fragile institutions that would have everlasting democratic rule in these countries.
And I know that a return to the bloc, that's for ECOWAS and the AU, it's not automatic. There are procedures and processes that Guinea will have to go through if they want to return. And I listened to one of the presidential envoys too, and he was talking about their willingness, to cooperate with ECOWAS and the EAS. But I also wanted to ask, how should ECOWAS and the AU approach this, even with the protocols laid down in terms of a return to the bloc, in a way that it doesn't set that dangerous precedence we're just talking about?
Well, Guinea, as you said, Guinea has to go through the process of being readmitted. They are on suspension right now. So they have to go through the process. ECOWAS has to determine if the election is as much as free and fair as possible. If Guinea has positions and places that will ensure that democratic rule is respected. And it's important that we note that Guinea did not join all the rebellious West African military rulers at Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger in leaving the West African Commission of ECOWAS. So it's in some ways they're 1 foot in, 1 foot out. They still respect the fact that ECOWAS is necessary. ECOWAS is there for their own benefit, and they do yearn for that inclusion. So ECOWAS will consider all that, I believe, to ensure that they are readmitted. It's unfortunate, but there's so many examples of this all around West Africa, whereby institutions are in many ways compromised for the benefits of military rulers, even civilian rulers that in many ways usurp the will of of the electorate, extending their stay, also banning and persecuting the opposition. So it's important we take as much step forward as possible, albeit small steps, to ensure that we have lasting and stable democracy in Africa.
And I know, well, just to state again, they are also looking to cooperate, not just with ECOWAS, but with the AES as well. But I also wanted to ask you what all of this signals for Guinea in terms of the country's future, and what should be General Doumbouya's first priority once those election results are certified and he's declared the winner?
Well, his number one priority is to ensure there's confidence in his government. He's gotten some level of legitimacy that he didn't have by, taking up arms against President Alpha Conde, his predecessor, his boss, actually. So he's gotten a bit of legitimacy. So we have to respect that. But he has to also ensure that the things he's put in place, economic policies, especially is opening up of the bauxite industry and the iron ore, establishment. Ensure he actually has nationalized this industries to ensure that Guinea gets the best benefit of them. So Guinea is big in bauxite, big in iron ore. I want to believe the new president will ensure that they take the economic dividend of that, and try and make a big difference to the lives of the Guineans. So that's very, very important. He's extended his stay from 5 to 7 years, so that he's there for 7 years unchallenged to the next election. The constitution was changed. But this will hopefully give him more opportunity to stabilize things and also bring more calmness. It's rather unfortunate that democracy is taking this rather unusual turn. But it's important also to recognize the fact that the journey Guinea has taken. There's been over 20 coups, 9 coups, in West Africa since 2020, 9 coups, including the one you just mentioned in Guinea. We don't need this. We want stability. And this in many ways should help us curb and reduce the temptation for that.
All right, we're following developments there. Hopefully, he sticks with the seven years in office, one term. Thank you so much for your time. Always a pleasure to have you on, Dr. Ademola Oshodi, a special advisor to President Tinubu on foreign affairs and protocol.
Thank you. It's actually not doctor, but I appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, I keep calling you that. My apologies. All right, let's take a break now. When the